Imagine this, you just retired. You have your savings, you have your social security, you have your plan, and then every single month, without fail, that mortgage payment shows up. $1,500, $2,000, maybe even $2,500, just sitting there, taking a chunk out of your retirement income before you've even had your morning coffee. And you start to wonder, should I just pay this thing off? Should I take money from my portfolio, wipe out the mortgage, and be done with it forever? Or is that a mistake? Is there a smarter way to handle this? Here is the truth. For working-age Americans, the mortgage versus invest debate is mostly a math problem. But for retirees, it is something completely different. It is a cash flow problem. It is a withdrawal rate problem. It is a sequence of returns problem. And most importantly, it is a peace of mind problem. And today, we are going to solve all of it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Life Advice. I'm your name. If you are retired or getting close to retirement and you still have a mortgage, this video is specifically for you, because the advice most people get on this topic is designed for 35-year-olds, and it does not apply to your situation. So let's fix that right now. Let's start with the most important thing to understand. The mortgage versus invest decision looks completely different in retirement than it does during your working years. And the reason comes down to one word: income. When you are working, you have a paycheck. That paycheck covers your mortgage, your expenses, your savings contributions, everything. Your portfolio is growing. You have time on your side. And if the market drops, you are not pulling money out. You are actually adding more in. So carrying a mortgage while investing makes sense because your income is stable, your timeline is long, and your portfolio is in accumulation mode. But when you retire, everything flips. Your paycheck is gone. Now your income comes from your portfolio, your social security, and maybe a pension. And every dollar you spend, including that mortgage payment, has to come from somewhere. Which means every month you have a mortgage, you are forced to withdraw more from your retirement accounts than you otherwise would. And that matters enormously. Here is why. Research from Vanguard and Morningstar consistently shows that the withdrawal rate you sustain in the early years of retirement has a massive impact on how long your portfolio lasts. The more you withdraw early, especially if the market happens to be down in those early years, the more damage you do to your long-term financial health. This is called sequence of returns risk, and a mortgage payment makes it significantly worse. Think about it this way. Let's say your essential living expenses are $4,000 per month, but your mortgage adds another $1,500. So now you need $5,500 per month, not $4,000. That extra $1,500 every single month means you are pulling an additional $18,000 per year from your portfolio. Over 10 years, that is $180,000 in extra withdrawals, before we even account for the investment growth that money could have generated if it had stayed invested. And here's the part that really stings. If the market drops 25% in year 2 of your retirement, and you are pulling $5,500 a month instead of $4,000 a month, you are selling more shares at depressed prices to cover that mortgage. Those shares are gone. They cannot recover. And your portfolio is permanently smaller because of it. This is the retirement mortgage trap. And it is why this decision is so much more high stakes for retirees than for anyone else. Now, not every retiree with a mortgage is in the same situation. And the right answer depends heavily on which category you fall into. So let me walk you through the 3 most common types. This is the retiree who locked in a mortgage rate of 2.5, 3, or even 3.5% back when rates were near historic lows, typically between 2020 and 2022. They have 15 or 20 years left on their mortgage, the balance is manageable, and the monthly payment is relatively low. For this person, the math is genuinely nuanced. Because a 3% mortgage rate in retirement, when your portfolio is invested in a diversified mix of stocks and bonds, might still be generating more in returns than you are paying in interest, especially inside tax-advantaged accounts where gains compound without a tax drag. However, and this is critical, even if the math technically favors keeping the mortgage, the cash flow reality of that monthly payment still increases your required withdrawal rate, and that still creates sequence of returns exposure. So even for the low-rate holdover, paying off the mortgage is not necessarily wrong. It is a trade-off between mathematical optimization and financial resilience. And in retirement, resilience usually wins. This is the retiree who bought or refinanced at 6, 7, or even 8%. Maybe they moved in retirement. Maybe they downsized but took on a new mortgage at today's rates. For this person, the math is far less ambiguous. Paying off a 7% mortgage is essentially a guaranteed 7% return. Tax-free, risk-free, market-proof. And that is extraordinarily hard to replicate in any investment environment once you factor in taxes and volatility. For the high-rate burden retiree, paying off the mortgage is almost always the stronger financial move. The guaranteed savings dramatically outweigh the potential investment upside, especially given the shorter time horizon and the withdrawal rate pressure we just discussed. This is perhaps the most common and most painful situation. This retiree has a solid portfolio, maybe $800,000 or $1 million, but a significant portion of it is locked in tax-deferred accounts like a traditional IRA or 401k. They have enough money to pay off the mortgage, but doing so would require a large taxable withdrawal that triggers a massive tax bill, potentially pushing them into a higher bracket, increasing their Medicare premiums, and creating a one-time tax hit that offsets much of the benefit. This person needs a strategy, not just a decision, and we are going to talk about exactly that in a few minutes. Let's run some real numbers because I want you to see this clearly. Meet Carol. She is 67 years old, recently retired, and has a $200,000 remaining mortgage balance at 6.5% with 18 years left. Her monthly payment is $1,600. She has a $900,000 portfolio, $700,000 in a traditional IRA, and $200,000 in a taxable brokerage account. Her Social Security pays her $2,200 per month. Her other living expenses are $3,400 per month, so she needs $5,600 per month total, $3,400 in living expenses, plus $1,600 for the mortgage. After Social Security, she needs to withdraw $3,400 per month, or $40,800 per year, from her portfolio. That is a 4.5% withdrawal rate on her $900,000 portfolio. Manageable, but not comfortable. It sits right at the edge of what most planners consider safe for a 67-year-old with potentially a 25-year retirement horizon. Now let's say Carol pays off the mortgage using her $200,000 taxable brokerage account. Yes, she depletes that account entirely. But now her required monthly withdrawal from the IRA drops from $3,400 to just $1,800. Her annual withdrawal drops from $40,800 to $21,600. And her withdrawal rate on the remaining $700,000 IRA, that drops to 3.1%. That is a dramatically more sustainable number. That is a portfolio that research suggests has an extremely high probability of lasting 25 to 30 years. And here is what people miss when they look at this. Yes, Carol gave up her $200,000 brokerage account, but she eliminated $1,600 per month in mandatory expenses forever. That is $19,200 per year of financial breathing room for the rest of her life. She reduced her sequence of returns risk. She reduced her required withdrawal rate by a third, and she eliminated a fixed obligation that was adding fragility to her plan every single month. This is not about the math of mortgage interest versus investment returns. This is about building a retirement plan that survives bad markets, unexpected expenses, and the unpredictability of a 25-year future. Now, of course, Carol's situation is specific, and yours is different, but the principle holds across almost every scenario. For retirees, reducing fixed expenses is one of the most powerful things you can do to strengthen your plan. Now, let's talk about the tax issue, because this is where so many retirees make a costly mistake. The instinct when you want to pay off your mortgage is to just pull the money from wherever you have the most. And for a lot of retirees, that means their IRA or 401k. But here's the problem. Every dollar you withdraw from a traditional IRA or 401k is taxed as ordinary income. And a large lump sum withdrawal, say $200,000 or $300,000 to pay off a mortgage, can push you into a significantly higher tax bracket in a single year. Let's say your normal annual taxable income in retirement is $50,000. You are in the 22% federal tax bracket. If you suddenly withdraw an additional $200,000 to pay off your mortgage, your taxable income jumps to $250,000. Now, a large portion of that withdrawal is being taxed at 32% or even 35%. You might pay $60,000 or $70,000 in taxes on a $200,000 withdrawal. That single decision could cost you more in taxes than you would have paid in mortgage interest over the remaining life of the loan. So what is the smarter approach? There are 3 strategies that work far better. If you have money in a regular brokerage account, not an IRA, not a 401k, this is the most tax-efficient source for paying off a mortgage. You may owe long-term capital gains tax on the growth, but those rates are far lower than ordinary income tax rates. For most retirees, long-term capital gains are taxed at 0% or 15%, dramatically less than the ordinary income rates on IRA withdrawals. If most of your money is in a traditional IRA, consider a multi-year strategy. Instead of one massive withdrawal, you do strategic partial Roth conversions each year, moving money from your traditional IRA to a Roth IRA while staying within a lower tax bracket. Over 3 to 5 years, you can move a significant amount of money into a tax-free Roth account. And then when you use that Roth money to eventually pay down or pay off the mortgage, there are zero additional taxes owed. This requires planning and patience, but it can save you tens of thousands of dollars. If neither of the above strategies works cleanly for your situation, consider making significantly larger monthly payments instead of a lump sum payoff. Even an extra $500 or $1,000 per month applied to principal can shorten your mortgage by years and save substantial interest, without triggering any tax event at all. This approach keeps you in control, keeps your tax situation clean, and still achieves the goal of eliminating the mortgage within a reasonable time frame. The bottom line on taxes is this: the decision to pay off your mortgage in retirement is almost never just about the mortgage. It is always a tax decision too, and getting the tax piece right can be just as valuable as the payoff itself. Now let's address the other side of this, because some of you are going to say, wait, what if I just keep the mortgage and invest the money instead? What if my portfolio can outperform my mortgage interest rate? It is a fair question, and for some retirees in very specific situations, it can be the right answer. But let's be honest about what that strategy actually requires. To beat a 6.5% mortgage rate with investments after taxes, you need your after-tax investment return to exceed 6.5% consistently. In a taxable account, that likely requires gross returns of 8% or more. And you need those returns to show up reliably in the exact years when you need them, because you have a fixed mortgage payment due every single month, regardless of what the market does. What happens if you are invested in the market and the market drops 30% in year one of your retirement? You are still making that $1,600 or $2,000 mortgage payment. You are selling depressed assets to fund a fixed obligation. Your portfolio takes a hit it may never fully recover from. This is the sequence of returns problem at its most dangerous. In contrast, if you pay off the mortgage, there is no payment to make. There is no forced selling. There is no sequence of returns exposure tied to that fixed obligation. Your flexibility increases dramatically. The honest comparison is not just mortgage rate versus expected investment return. The honest comparison is mortgage rate versus guaranteed, risk-free, market-proof savings. And when you frame it that way, especially at retirement, paying off the mortgage almost always looks more attractive. That said, if you have a very low mortgage rate, say 2.5 or 3%, and a large portion of your savings is in Roth accounts where growth is tax-free, and you have strong guaranteed income from Social Security and a pension that already covers your basic expenses, then keeping the mortgage and staying invested can genuinely make sense. The key is that your basic living expenses are covered without touching your portfolio. If that is your situation, you have the flexibility to let your portfolio grow and carry the mortgage. But that is a fairly specific set of circumstances, not a universal rule. So let me bring everything together with a clear and honest framework. If you are retired or very close to retirement and you still have a mortgage, here is how to think about it. First, look at your mortgage rate. If it is above 5 or 6%, the case for paying it off is very strong. The guaranteed savings are hard to beat once you factor in risk, taxes, and the withdrawal pressure it creates. Second, look at your withdrawal rate. If your current required withdrawals are above 4% and your mortgage is part of the reason why, eliminating the mortgage is one of the most direct ways to make your plan more sustainable. Third, look at your account types. If you have taxable brokerage money available, that is your most tax-efficient source for a payoff. If most of your money is in a traditional IRA, consider a multi-year Roth conversion strategy rather than a taxable lump sum withdrawal. Fourth, consider your peace of mind. This one is not in any formula, but it is real. For many retirees, the psychological weight of a monthly mortgage payment, the knowledge that you owe money on your home, that there is an obligation hanging over your retirement every single month, is its own form of financial stress. And reducing stress in retirement is genuinely valuable. You cannot put a number on sleeping well at night. And fifth, remember what this is really about. Retirement is not a financial optimization exercise. It is your life. The goal is not to die with the most mathematically efficient portfolio. The goal is to live the years you have with confidence, freedom, and as little financial anxiety as possible. If paying off your mortgage helps you get there, even if it is not the theoretically optimal move on a spreadsheet, then it is the right move for you. All right, I want to hear from you. Do you have a mortgage in retirement? Are you thinking about paying it off? What is holding you back? Drop your situation in the comments below and let's talk about it. I read every single comment and I would love to help you think through your specific situation. If you got value from today's video, please give it a like and share it with someone you know who is retired and still carrying a mortgage. It might be the most important financial video they watch this year. Subscribe to Life Advice for a new video every single week. I will see you in the next one. Take care.